Hey everybody, how you doing? I just saw something that really caught my attention. I get on Twitter and I see that General Flynn has posted his declaration to withdraw his plea deal. And I started reading through it, and there are so many things on here that resonate with me personally. That I just decided I'm going to go ahead and read this for a YouTube video. There's some people that won't read through this whole thing, but there's some people that would listen to a video. And yeah, anyway, here it goes. Okay, so United States District Court, District of Columbia, United States of America, plaintiff versus Michael T. Flynn, defendant. Criminal action number 17-232-EGS, declaration of Michael T. Flynn. It says, I, Michael T. Flynn, declare I am a citizen of the United States and more than 18 years old. I served over 33 years in the United States Army. 5 of those years I spent deployed. Let me make this bigger so I can read it better here. 5 of those years I spent deployed in active combat in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere around the world in support of United States foreign policy objectives. I was a lifelong Democrat, and President Barack Obama twice appointed me to positions that required Senate confirmation. In my final military assignment, I served as head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, until September of 2014. On December 1st, 2017, I pled guilty to lying to agents of the FBI. I am innocent of this crime, and I request to withdraw my plea. In December 2016, while I was working on the President-elect Trump's transition team, I received a letter from the FARA, F-A-R-A, unit at the Department of Justice. In that letter, I learned that the FARA unit sought information about work that my former business, the Flynn Intel Group, did for a company called Innovo BV that related to Turkey. I responded by seeking out respected counsel who were known and respected FARA lawyers. I chose Rob Kleiner and his colleagues at Covington and Burlington. I met with Covington lawyers on several occasions about FIGs and FARA issues. I gave them the information they requested and answered their questions truthfully. The most important instruction I gave them was to be precise. On January 20th, 2017, I entered office as the President's National Security Advisor. 4 days later, FBI Deputy Director McCabe called me and asked if I would meet with a couple of FBI agents at the White House. I agreed. While I was willing to oblige Deputy Director McCabe by meeting with a couple of agents on the 4th day of the new administration, I was extremely busy and only had a limited amount of time to give them. I tried to answer their questions as best I could during that brief meeting before again moving on to a schedule packed with new presidential and national security requirements. I was an intelligence officer for over 33 years, since 1981 and throughout my military and government career. I had held the highest level security clearances our government provides. When FBI agents came to the White House on January 24th, 2017, I did not lie to them. I believe I was honest with them, and to the best of my recollection at the time. I still don't remember if I discussed sanctions on a phone call with Ambassador Kislyak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Nor do I remember if we discussed the details of UN vote on Israel. In regards to the sanctions issue, I told the agents that tit for tat is a phrase I use which suggests that the topic of sanctions could have been raised. The phone calls with Kislyak are still events of which I do not have clear memory, and are related to a general category of information that are both sensitive and classified. My baseline reaction to questions posed by people outside of my superior's immediate command or office of responsibility is to protect sensitive or classified information except upon need to know and the proper level of security clearance. That type of filter is ingrained in me and virtually automatic after a lifetime of honoring my duty to protect the most important national and military secrets. I am and was fully aware that federal officials routinely monitor, record, and transcribe such conversations with foreign officials. Of course, I was embarrassed and angered by the furor that erupted in the press over the felonious leak of highly sensitive and classified information that was my phone call with Ambassador Kislyak. It was distracting to my work to be the center of such a commotion, and it was upsetting to be the cause of disruption to the busy and important work in support of the new President of the United States. I resigned as National Security Advisor on February 13, 2017. I believe my registration letter to President Trump stated quite accurately what happened, and both he and the Vice President graciously accepted my apology. The transition period was an incredibly intense time. I was communicating with representatives of multiple foreign countries on countless and varied issues every day. Frankly, of the national security dangers and concerns that weighed on our minds at this time, sanctions on Russia were far from the most pressing threat or concern. We were dealing with many more serious crises around the world. The calls with Ambassador Kislyak were brief and few. They were no more exceptional than my numerous calls and personal interactions with senior representatives of governments from around the world during an exceedingly demanding work schedule. After I left the White House, I agreed to engage Kellner, his colleague Stephen Anthony, and other Covington lawyers to represent me in any FBI investigations and eventually the special counsel's office investigation. They also continued to represent me and FIG in regards to FARA-related issues. At one of my first meetings with Mr. Kellner and Mr. Anthony, they asked me if I had anything on President Trump, as it would provide much more leverage with the government. So basically they were trying to get information from him to make a deal, basically. Like, we won't be so tough on you if you just give us some dirt on President Trump. I told them from the beginning that I was unaware of President Trump doing anything wrong. With respect to FARA filing, my Covington counsel did not explain to me that there were any problems with FARA filing that required Covington to examine any of the issues in August 2017. I would have hired independent counsel to reevaluate FARA filing and amend it if necessary if I had known the severity of the conflict. To the best of my recollection, and from my re-examination of the emails from August 2017, the vast majority of email traffic between me and Covington during that time was focused on the creation of my legal defense fund to pay my skyrocketing legal defense fees, by that time approaching $3 million. To that end, we put our Alexandria, Virginia home on the market in late November or early December 2017 timeframe to help pay the rising legal bills that were incurring. We then moved our family home in Rhode Island. You know, this is really this is really resonating with me because I've lost everything that I have due to a legal situation that happened right about this same time. Right as I had started speaking out about being a targeted individual. I'd finally figured out what was going on. I understood what was happening to me and I started documenting it, putting it out online. And I was set up and I was arrested right about the same time. I haven't spent $3 million. It's closer to, I think by the end of it, $50,000. But there's a lot in this that resonates with me. Mine definitely isn't as important as General Flynn's. But anyway, I'll just keep going here. In late August of 2017, my wife and I were in Rhode Island. Kellner and Anthony emailed us to arrange a telephone call. The call then occurred while we were driving to have dinner with some friends. It was an approximately 15-minute phone call where we had pulled off the side of the highway. They informed us that there was a development regarding a conflict of interest. They also mentioned the possibility of Bijan being indicted, B-I-J-A-N. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Speaking to the conflict of interest, they stated that they were prepared to defend us vigorously if the conflict became an issue. We told them we trusted them. That actually is in federal attorney guidelines that they must defend you vigorously and zealously, as if they were defending themselves in every case. So that's kind of a boilerplate statement from an attorney. That's their job, is to defend the client vigorously. Okay, anyway, if the conflict became an issue, we told them we trusted them. The same thing with my attorney. In November 2017, the Special Counsel's Office, SCO, created sudden and intense time pressure on me to plead guilty. I got the same thing. All of a sudden, got to take this plea deal. If not, 15 years in prison. There's no way you're going to win this case. Even though I didn't know what a motion discovery was, they hadn't explained that to me. We hadn't been given exculpatory evidence, which were body cameras from police officers. When I finally requested those, I didn't get the body camera footage. I asked to file a motion to compel the attorney to compel for the exculpatory evidence. The attorney basically just fought me the whole way. And just said, look, you're facing 15 years. You're facing 15 years. You're not going to see your son, your daughter again for 15 years. Blah, blah, blah. They bring it on you just like that. So I can really identify with how General Flynn felt here. Well, I haven't got to that part yet. Anyway, on November 4th, getting back to the document here, on November 4th, 2017, I believe my Covington attorneys told my wife and me that the Special Counsel's Office, SCO, wanted to conduct a proffer session with me. P-R-O-F-F-E-R. I've never heard that term before. They told me the SCO had yet to make a decision about how to proceed with me, and doing a proffer session would be a good way to let the SCO prosecutors get to know the real Mike Flynn. Yeah, they say it like they're your friends. Let's just get together, have a little talk. During the same meeting, my previous lawyers, Mr. Kellner and Mr. Anthony, proceeded to walk us through a series of items, essentially describing the risks of doing the proffer. From this meeting, I believe the following day, I agreed to do the proffer primarily based on my understanding that if they said if the proffer went well, being indicted would be less likely. Otherwise, my indictment would be soon. So they're dangling a carrot. Oh, this is going to go much better for you, when they have no goodwill intended. It's to lure you in. They knew what they were going to do to this guy before it even happened. They did not raise FARA issues with me that day or anything about a conflict of interest. November 16th, 2017 was the first day of the proffer with the SCO. That same evening, after concluding the first proffer, we returned to the Covington offices where my attorneys told me that the first day's proffer did not go well and then proceeded to walk me through a litany of conceivable charges I was facing and told me that I was looking at the possibility of 15 years in prison. I got the exact same thing. They did the exact same thing to me. It wasn't the FBI, it was my attorney and the state of Arizona. But they run you through these series of questions. They set you up for a fall. They make you think everything's going to be fine, and then all of a sudden, oh, you're going to be looking at 15 years. That's 15 years away from your family. They reiterated the threat of charges against me, my son, as well as the potential of a long-term prison sentence. That evening we discussed, and they encouraged me to use words and phrases they believed would help me get through, in quotes, the next day's proffer and satisfy the special counsel. Phrases that are not part of my normal vocabulary. General Flynn, sir, I definitely understand how you feel in that situation. Going through a court process like this, they basically speak Latin. And there are law books this thick that you have to be an expert in, and you have to completely trust that these people have your best interest in mind. And you basically have to learn their job this quick to be able to do your own personal checks and balances to make sure that they're doing their job properly. But when they're speaking another language and there's an entire new set of rules that take 6 years to learn, it's impossible. Even if you're a 3-star general and you are a highly intelligent person, it's just not something you can pick up that quick. You have to learn as you go through the process. But as you go through the process, they're just chopping you down, chopping you down, chopping you down to where you're losing ground as you go, not because you did anything wrong, but because they're roping you into these situations, and they've got it. They're strategists. They're like evil geniuses, and the attorney won't always do what's in your best interest. They'll do what is going to work out best for them in their relationship with others in the court, other attorneys, judges, the people above them in intel agencies, the people that are directing them to attack you or target you. It's a losing battle unless you know it's coming. And they don't let you know it's coming, they blindside you with it. Okay. Where did I leave off here? During the second day of the proffer, I used words and phrases that were not really my own voice, and I regret that, just as I regret pleading guilty. Me too, sir. I thought it was my only hope. Pled guilty, and because I thought I was screwed. I had no other option. And then I learned what a motion discovery was. Then I learned what a motion to compel is. I learned what exculpatory evidence is. I learned that the attorney had violated their federal and state guidelines. That the state bar regulates the attorneys to act under a certain way. That attorney didn't. And I realized all of that after the fact, after it was too late. Tried to withdraw my plea deal. Now, they wouldn't allow me to do it. It's going to happen with General Flynn. It's going to happen with you, sir. I really believe it is. There's a lot of people that have your back here, and not stabbing you in the back. There's a lot of people on your side, and a lot of people that understand what's going on with this thing and how dirty and shady these people are. And I think you have posse comitatus on your side, the power of the people. I'm one of them. People think that a 3-star general must know everything, but I was a fish out of water in a terrifying and completely foreign situation with none of the legal skills necessary to deal with the many things being thrown at me. Amen. I hired the team of the best lawyers I had been told I could find, and I relied on them completely. Same. One of the ways a person becomes a 3-star general is by being a good soldier taking orders, being part of a team, and trusting the people who provide information and support. Lori and I trusted Mr. Kellner and Mr. Anthony to guide us through the most stressful experience of our lives in a completely incomprehensible situation. I have never... Sorry. I have never felt more powerless. I understand the feeling right there. That's a tough thing to go through. Same here. Never felt more powerless in my life. I should have stood my ground firmly for what I knew to be the truth, and I did not lie to the agents, and I should have told this court on December 18, 2018, that I needed to consult with new counsel. My relationship with Covington disintegrated soon thereafter. Same. I fired Mark J. Victor soon after I realized that he had not defended me zealously, I believe is the term, and that he was working against me. Fired mine too. This is a much more tactful way to say it, that my relationship disintegrated soon thereafter. I fired my attorney, but we can call it disintegrated. That's sounds like my next door neighbor's having a party. I'm sorry if you can hear music in the background, but it sounds like they're getting down tonight. Okay. This effort to say what they want approach during the proffer was noted by one of the interviewing agents, who stopped me at some point to ask whether what I was saying was something that really happened, or whether I was just speculating, analyzing the past with the benefit of hindsight. I agreed with the agent. I was mostly speculating. I recall Mr. Kellner's mention of conflict of interest in late August in a brief phone call, but I did not attach any serious significance to it. Likewise, I did not understand the legalistic email I received on November 19th, 2017, the eve of my third day of proffers. Almost 3 months later, we trusted my attorneys and expected them... that was that was hyphenated, okay. The eve of my third day of proffers, almost 3 months later, period. We trusted my attorneys and expected them to put my interest first, as they said they would do. I understand that one there, sir. You think you're going to give these people all this money and that they have your best interest in mind, and then you learn during the process. Not always the case. To have devoted my life to my country only to be accused of crimes, slandered in the media with false and outrageous claims, and have my family threatened was an unimaginable nightmare, one that those who have not walked in these shoes will find difficult to comprehend. Do not doubt you one bit. Like I said, these cases are completely different, General Flynn's and my case, but I can identify with this so much. You can't understand this until you've gone through it. You cannot understand the tactics that they use and how convoluted everything is, and how much of a game it is to these people to get a win other than get to the truth, to get to the final conclusion of what really happened, but instead to get a win, to just chalk it up as a win on their side and to continue their climb up the ladder by whoever sent them after this person in the first place. Following the 4-day proffer on November 22nd, 2017, Kellner and Anthony called my wife and me as we were driving home to Rhode Island to spend Thanksgiving with family, to tell me the SCO planned to bring charges and that I should consider a plea. So, okay, here's something I'm noticing. This exact same thing happened to me. It's like these people, and the people that he's dealing with are the FBI and intel agencies that would be able to track him and know where he's going or what he's doing at all times. And they want to catch you at the most inconvenient time possible. You notice that the only 2 times that he's stated that they've called him on here, is while he was driving on his way to a destination, to like a family get-together. So you're on your way to a family get-together, you're on a drive to an appointment or something like that. They see that your phone is moving down the freeway, highway, whatever. They know what your plans are because they're tracking every minuscule aspect of your life. They know what you're going to be doing, where you're going. They want to catch you at the most inconvenient time. First time he had to pull over and he had to answer the phone on the side of the highway. Second time, they're on their way to family's house for Thanksgiving. Same type of thing would happen to me all the time. Sounds like a standard operating procedure. Okay, SEO plan charges considered plea. The week leading up to November 30th, 2017, Kellner and Anthony advised that if I did not plead, I would be indicted on multiple counts and that my son, Michael G. Flynn, could or would face indictment. They repeated that I would be looking at a potential of 15 years in prison and said that I would be subjected to the Manafort treatment, in quotes. Paul Manafort. On November 30th, 2017, as plea negotiations with SCO were coming to a head, I reiterated to my former lawyers, specifically Robert Kellner and Stephen Anthony, that I did not believe that I had lied in my White House interview with the FBI agents. I reminded them that I had spoken to representatives of well over 30 countries, many in a single 24-hour period during that very busy holiday season and presidential transition period. In fact, some of these calls occurred while I was supposedly on vacation out of the country. Although I may have had an incomplete memory of many details of certain conversations when speaking to the agents, I did not consciously or intentionally lie. During the same day, later in the afternoon, Kellner and Anthony explained their view of how the government would go about proving its case and urged me to accept the plea deal. That was on the table. Paragraph break. To accept the plea deal, that was on the table. They walked me through the final 302 in detail. They explained if I did not accept the plea deal, that I should expect to be indicted the next day. Still struggling with the decision whether to plead guilty, I asked my former attorneys to make further inquiry into the SCO prosecutors about whether FBI agents believed that I had lied to them. In the preceding months leading up to this moment, I had read articles and heard rumors that the agents did not believe I had lied, something I also firmly believed. I remember that, laying in bed the night before. You're gonna go in and sign that plea deal. That's a rough night. You're thinking to yourself, I spent all this time in the military. I care about people. I've served my country. Now these people are attacking me. The attacks didn't start with me right then. It had been going on for a long time before that. But that's what's going through your head. You know, I used to be a decorated soldier. In my case, airman. All these years in service. In my case, I was a firefighter. I was a journalist. I had jobs that helped people. Why are they doing this to me? It's hard to get to sleep that night. Mr. Kellner and Mr. Anthony left the room to call the SCO prosecutors. When they returned, they informed my wife and me that they had told that the agents that they had been told the agents stand by their statements because I was then unaware that the agents had made the statements described in his declaration, and because I was unaware of what had passed between my former lawyers and the SEO outside of the room, I then understood them to be telling me that the FBI agents believed that I had lied. My Covington attorneys counseled me to sign the statement of offense. I agreed to plead guilty that next day, December 1st, 2017, because of the intense pressure from the special counsel's office. Man, this is so, the timeline of this is so close to the time. I was arrested on January 4th of 2018. Not long after this. Because of the intense pressure from the special counsel's office, which included a threat to indict my son Michael and the lack of crucial information from my counsel, the SCO had already made Michael the subject of their investigation and taken all his files and communications devices, computer, phone, files, and thumb drive. At the time, Michael and his wife had a four-month-old baby. Nonetheless, I would not have pled guilty if my former lawyers had informed me that both agents who interviewed me at the White House on January 24th, 2017 had advised that let's see, there was something in quotes here, okay, that I displayed a sure demeanor, that A, I displayed a sure demeanor, and B, I did not give any indications of deception. And C, both agents believed that there was no indication that I was lying or that I believed I was lying. Now I'm talking about my stuff along with this, but it's because this resonates with me so much. Well, and it's my video. But this is for General Flynn. I took an MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Inventory, 600 question test. It evaluates your personality, different possible personality deficiencies, but it will tell them basically if you're an honest person or you're a liar, if you are delusional or schizophrenic, if you're a psychopath or a sociopath or an empath, different things like that. My test, the psychological evaluator said when I took this test that I scored as high as I could as far as honesty goes. That there is no doubt in their mind that I was being honest with them. But because I said I was being followed by cars, and that there were certain questions that I answered, like I'm being followed by different cars, I know who's responsible for my downfall, things like that, that I could be possibly delusional or schizophrenic, even though I've got all of it on video. Anyway, back to General Flynn's declaration here. At no time before my plea deal did my former lawyers explain or disclose this to me. Had I been informed of these disclosures, I never would have pled guilty. Same. Moreover, I would have expected my Covington counsel to refuse to allow me to plead guilty with that information. I have spent my entire adult life accepting great responsibility. I accepted the plea agreement to stop the pain and the threats to my family, and to accept responsibility for what the government I have defended and served for more than 33 years said I did wrong. Exactly. You take the plea deal because they're hammering you. And they make you think, just take this plea deal, everything will be fine after that, it'll be no big deal. And then you take the plea deal and they put you through more hell and treat you like a piece of shit. Where did I leave off here? However, if my counsel had informed me both agents, okay. However, if my counsel had informed me both agents said I showed sure demeanor and did not give any indications of deception, and I showed no indication that I was lying or that I believed or or that I believed I was lying, I would not have signed the plea agreement or entered a guilty plea. They make sure you get all the correct information after you sign the guilty plea, because it's like just a extra little stab to mess with your psyche. Like, oh, you had a chance there, buddy, but you signed it too late now. Ha ha. It's part of their psychopathic mind game. They did the exact same thing to me. My former lawyers from Covington also assured me on November 30th, 2017 that if I accepted the plea, my son Michael would be left in peace. Yep, use your family members. After I signed the plea deal, the attorneys returned to the room and confirmed that the SCO would no longer be pursuing my son. It was well after I pled guilty on December 1st, 2017 that I heard or read the agents had stated that they did not believe that I had lied during the January 24th, 2017 White House interview and the other information described in this declaration. Still later, I heard it reported that former FBI Director Comey, Cardinal Comey, James Comey, and FBI Director McCabe, Andy McCabe, testified to Congress that the agents did not believe I lied. After learning this information, I reiterated to my former attorneys numerous times that I did not lie to the agents and questioned if I might be able to withdraw my plea. Each time I raised this issue with my former attorneys, they urged me to stick with the plea deal. It was a good deal, or the government would indict me for multiple other offenses and also drag my son back into the crosshairs. This constant refrain was to stay on the path with the deal they had negotiated. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet somebody was paying these attorneys more than General Flynn was, or leveraging them with threats to make sure that they didn't work zealously for General Flynn? The music just keeps getting louder next door. Sorry. It's Friday night. In the days leading up to December 18th, 2018, sentencing hearing Robert Kellner and Stephen Anthony continued to urge me to stay on the path. They predicted correctly that the government would recommend a term of probation and that my son would not be further targeted. Targeted, right there. Hear that word? Targeted. That is exactly what they do. However, during the December 2018 hearing, Judge Sullivan's decision to proceed with an extended plea colloquy, Colloquy, I believe that's colloquy, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, took both me and my former counsel completely by surprise. They had not prepared me for what had occurred. The court's comments that day stunned me. The entire experience was surreal. Oh, so surreal. And that day was one of the worst days of my life. Feel you, General. The day you become a felon, not a good day. My Covington attorneys had only prepared me for a simple hearing in which I would be sentenced to probation. Only be sentenced to probation. They make that sound like it's a walk in the park. Oh, it's a big kick in the ass is what it is. I've been through almost a year of it now. And it's a 3-ring circus every time I go in there. We're here to help you. We're here to help you, we promise. As the government had agreed, sorry, I stopped right in the middle of a comma there. Sentenced to probation, as the government had agreed. I was not prepared for this court's plea colloquy, much less to decide on the spot whether I should withdraw my plea, consult with independent counsel, or continue to follow my existing lawyer's advice. Prior to the sentencing hearing, they counseled me that if the court were to ask me if I wanted to withdraw my plea, that I should say no, because the court would be giving you the rope to hang yourself. Regretfully, I followed my lawyer's strong advice to confirm my plea, even though it was all I could do not to cry out no when this court asked me if I was guilty. I totally understand. I can't say I know how you felt, but I'm pretty damn sure that I'm close. General Flynn has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 12 or 13 ranks above mine, and 19 more years of service than I have. So it was probably a little tougher for him. But either way, you want to say what what's in your gut, what your intuition is telling you. But court doesn't work that way. And you get put through all these different hoops, and you're trusting the attorney that's speaking a completely different language from what you've ever spoken in your life, and you go by their guidance, and then you do, and this happens. During the break in the hearing offered by the court, my former attorneys were as shocked as I was at the colloquy. God, I hope I'm saying that right. And the way in which the hearing had proceeded. My wife Lori counseled me and my attorneys that we should accept the court's offer. That we should accept the court's offer to postpone sentencing. I love that he has such a good relationship with his wife. That's rare these days. In late spring 2019, when Covington actually insisted I seek independent counsel, I did. New counsel immediately identified the conflict of interest, and then I terminated Covington. I realized my statement and determination to assert my innocence means that prosecutors who already seek to imprison me may retaliate further by seeking additional charges against me and dramatically increasing the penalty I face. I expressed, because they don't, when you stand up for yourself, they take it as a personal attack against them. You're supposed to just lay down and take it. And if you don't, they take it personal, and then they make it personal. I express my profound apology to this court, my family, the president, our country, and all who have supported and had faith in me throughout this incomprehensible ordeal. I tried to accept responsibility by admitting to offenses I understood the government I love and trusted said I committed. In truth, I never lied. My guilty plea has rankled me throughout this process, and while I allowed myself to succumb to the threats from the government to save my family, I believe that I was grossly misled about what really happened. I will not confirm a plea of guilty I should never have entered. I have served my country honorably all my life and accepted responsibility for myself and others from a young age. As my sister Claire wrote to you in her beautiful letter on behalf of my siblings. I had some of those too. I had some letters from not family. My family's pretty much ditched me since all of this started going down. My letters were from former NSA analyst Karen Milton Stewart, former FBI agent Gerald Sosebee, and who else wrote me one? Another targeted individual. As God is my witness, the truth is I am innocent of these charges and any other alleged criminal conduct. I request to withdraw my plea deal of guilty, and I will fight to restore my good name. To the best of my recollection, this foregoing is true and correct. I declare under the penalty of perjury under the law of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct. Executed on 29th day of January, 2020. Signed, Michael T. Flynn. Awesome. God bless you, General Flynn, for what you've gone through. Man, it's one of the reasons talk about you so much, and I respect you so much, and I believe you so much because I got to go through the same thing. Not the exact same thing, but very similar. When they talk about your exculpatory evidence, when they talk about so many different parts of this case, I'm like, yeah, that happened to me. That seems like this seems like standard operating procedure. Like, this is what they do to everyone they're going to attack. They've got a little can they open up and go, okay, well, here's the first thing we're going to do. Here's the first thing we're going to do. Lead the person into this certain point, and then boom, hit them with all the fear and the commotion. Tell them you're going to prison for 15 years. This is going to happen. You're not going to see your kids. Their lives are going to be ruined. Your life's going to be ruined. You just better take this plea deal. Make it easier for everybody. So I think that we're going to see General Flynn exonerated here pretty soon. This is good news, everybody. And then when that happens, this should flip around, and he should become the plaintiff, and the FBI will become the defendant. And that's not going to go very well. Because as much of a gentleman and God-fearing man that General Flynn is, he's also a 3-star Army general, and he knows how to kick some ass, and it's going to be a bad day for the people that went after him. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. All right, that's it. Everybody have a good night. Hope you enjoy this good news about General Flynn. This is something a lot of us have been waiting for a long time here. And really excited to see the outcome of this. All right. Good night.